Hey, what's up, guys? So this is going to be a very quick video. This is actually only maybe 12 minutes long, 13 minutes long. Richard Gage actually went on, Richard Gage, formerly of Architects and Engineers, actually went on the Stu Peters show, and it was uploaded on April 21st of this year. And they were talking about the Donald Canestraro files. And Stu Peters is somebody I want to stay far away from. Politically, apolitically, he supports a lot of very irrational theories, uh, domestic, foreign. I just don't, I would never want to be anywhere near him to talk about an important topic like this. That's me, nevertheless. Again, credit to Richard Gage. He talked about this twice now. He went on two shows talking about the Canestraro files. So even though I'm a critic of Richard Gage, I still give him credit for actually talking about probably the biggest revelation that we have on record since Operation Encore, even bigger. So let's see what they have to say.
Besides all of that, it's like it never even happened. But Gitmo is still there. And there are still 31 prisoners languishing there. They're probably bad dudes. They probably deserve to be there and be tortured and be executed. But after what we've seen from our government for the last 20 years, do you really trust them holding anyone indefinitely in some offshore prison?
It's a good point raised by Peters, actually. But let's just say there are mass murderers and whatnot. We should not, there's a quote by Sigmund Freud. And basically, he talks about the abyss. Be aware, as long as you gaze into the abyss, that the abyss doesn't gaze back at you. So in other words, if you stare too long at the face of evil, you become evil long enough as you become mesmerized by it. And in this case, the federal government basically became the evil that they are torturing, right? In a lot of cases, especially in Guantanamo, you had over 800 prisoners. There's only 30 there now because the rest of them were innocent and they were tortured. In fact, in one case, I got the guy's name where he actually froze to death. So, and Abu Zubaydah is actually held in Guantanamo Bay. He's the only forever prisoner, but he has no charges. And I think the courts in Lithuania and currently now are trying to alleviate those charges, that charge of him being a forever prisoner. So I don't think we should torture these people, even if they're mass murderers. We have to give them the respect of law. And the law doesn't say to torture, but this is the reason why it's in a military tribunal and not in the Southern District of New York, where it should be. Because even though that Guantanamo Bay is considered a U.S. base, it's not in lands of the United States. It was not part of the United States. Therefore, the Geneva Conventions doesn't apply to these people. And remember, in November of 2001, it was the White House that circumvented the rule of law regarding enemy combatants. That would be up to the Department of Justice. But the Bush White House, under their lawyers, like Richard Attenborough and John Yoo and Alberto Gonzalez, what did they do? Well, they basically said, no, we'll take that off the hands of the Department of Justice and we'll leave it up to the President of the United States. At first, they wanted the Department of Defense. Can you imagine that? But then they thought better and they said, well, leave it up to the President. And without ever consulting the Secretary of State, Colin Powell, the National Security Advisor, Condoleezza Rice, or the Attorney General, John Ashcroft. Didn't even invite them to the meetings. This is all White House lawyers. White House counsel. What does Shakespeare say? Kill all the lawyers, right? So yeah, I disagree with Stu Peters here, even though he brings up a solid point.
Or are those prisoners just being held there in the service of another lie, perpetuated by the empire of lies? Yep, that seems plausible because now there's new filings for the Guantanamo Military Commission that raise questions about this exact matter. The court filings date back to 2021, but they were heavily redacted at the time. Well, now uncensored versions have unexpectedly come out. And they claim that the CIA recruited 2 of the 9/11 hijackers before they flew planes into the World Trade Center.
Okay, there's this big misconception here that everybody says, a lot of people are saying, Russia Today blazing the headline that they recruited Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi. These are 2 hijackers, right? That the file mainly talks about. They didn't recruit them. There's no evidence to suggest that they were in any type of payroll or under any type of control from the Saudi government or the CIA. In fact, if you read the Canestraro file, or if you read Operation Encore, you'll notice that Nawaf al-Hazmi, because Khalid al-Mihdhar left the United States in the year 2000, came back in the year 2001. He went to Yemen because his wife was pregnant. Nawaf al-Hazmi told an Arab who they rented a room from in San Diego, who just happened to be an informant for the FBI that dates back to 1993, Abdus Sheikh. He basically said that the one Arab who helped them get housing and helped them get a car, a driver's license, was Omar al-Bayoumi. And Nawaf al-Hazmi said to him that he didn't trust him and Khalid, didn't trust Omar al-Bayoumi because they thought he was a Saudi spy. So this whole idea of Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi being recruited by the CIA falls on their own words of Nawaf al-Hazmi. Now, you can flip that coin and basically say, well, Nawaf al-Hazmi's lying, and that they are helping the Saudis and the CIA in regards to, providing intelligence. But there's no evidence of this either. Now, what does the file say? The file actually says, and this is regarding the testimonies of FBI and CIA officers, FBI agents, even former 9/11 congressional officials, and a lot of these FBI agents and CIA officers who basically spoke on conditions of anonymity. Okay, they basically said that the CIA and the Saudi intelligence service, the General Intelligence Directorate, or the Mahabeth in Arabic, basically were working together illegally inside the United States to collect intelligence on Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi, who were known to be al-Qaeda operatives. This was known to the NSA at first, who told the CIA, and then somewhere down the road, either the Saudis picked it up, or the CIA or the NSA, or both of them told the Saudis, because the Saudis could speak Arabic. Can't have a CIA officer working inside the United States, a white guy speaking Arabic, doesn't look good. So you get Arabs who basically are contractors to Saudi government agencies like Omar al-Bayoumi is, and have him become, and it says this in a Canestraro file, that Omar al-Bayoumi was to play a sympathizer to Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi. But this is regarding that they have no idea what they were up to. Now you assume falsely that the CIA knew exactly, but we don't know that. That's not information that's public. Now I can make the argument that the NSA probably heard about the operation and others because they were listening to the phone calls of the Yemen hub, which is an al-Qaeda communications hub that Khalid al-Mihdhar lived in, and also to bin Laden's satellite phones in the early 90s. And that the CIA was bugging the Yemen hub house in Sana'a, Yemen, maybe heard half of the calls. But we're just assuming here, right, that they were that we know they're talking about. We don't know that. We don't know that for sure. So I just want to make that clear. They were not recruits for the CIA. There's no evidence to suggest this. I think the CIA wanted the Saudis to help them try to get as much intelligence about them, try to play, with Omar al-Bayoumi and other Saudi officials like Fahad al-Tameri, who is the imam of the King Fahd Mosque in Los Angeles, in which Khalid al-Mihdhar al-Wahhabi went to first when they landed inside the United States. In fact, a Tunisian cab driver, Khalid Ben-Amarine, picked him up from the airport because Fahad al-Tameri knew about their arrival. Because a confidential source inside the mosque, who is a confidential source for the FBI, told him about this phone call that happened in Malaysia in December of '99, before the Malaysia summit meeting that Khalid al-Mihdhar al-Wahhabi went to before they arrived inside the United States. So they went to the mosque, they were provided assistance, and then when they relocated to San Diego, under orders from Fahad al-Tameri, who was taking orders from an individual by Muassad al-Jarrah, who is head of the Religious Affairs Committee in Washington, D.C. He's the one who got Fahad al-Tameri, Omar al-Bayoumi, to assist Khalid al-Mihdhar al-Wahhabi inside the United States. And Muassad al-Jarrah is known to terrorist groups. The FBI found this out. That's in Operation Encore. The Canestraro files actually says that the Saudis, through the CIA working together, were hoping to get as much intelligence from Khalid al-Mihdhar al-Wahhabi in the hopes of maybe turning them, either as witting informants or unwitting informants. But they never got that chance, it seems, because al-Wahhabi didn't trust Omar al-Bayoumi.
Allegedly. These court filings say that the CIA used Saudi Arabia as a go-between in order to circumvent laws that bar the CIA from conducting spy operations on American soil, on Americans.
That's right.
Richard Gage is an architect in the Bay Area with more than 30 years of experience. He's also the founder and former CEO of Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth, which has amassed more than 3,500 members over the years. For 2 decades, Richard and his wife Gail have been leading the charge for a deeper investigation into the destruction of all 3 World Trade Center skyscrapers 20 years ago. Richard joins us now. Richard Gage, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Stu. Great to be with you again.
So if I want somebody dead and I go contract a killer, does that make the killer immune for liability or prosecution because I used a go-between?
It's worse than that, Stu. The CIA is going to try to spin this to say, oh, no, we were just trying to infiltrate.
Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my picture because it seems that I'm covering one side of his face. I don't know how it's going to turn out on the video, but I don't want to block Richard's face here. So let's continue.
Al-Qaeda. But you see, the documents, which anybody can download right off the RT Today, Russia Today article by Levshitz.
Let me stop right here because I want to be helpful. All right, don't go to RT Today. Go to the Florida Bulldog. In fact, I'll link it at the description because Dan Christensen of Florida Bulldog is the best journalist, 9/11 journalist in the United States. He's always updating about 9/11 on his blog, on the online news site, Florida Bulldog. It's the best in the country. And they're the ones who broke the story. Everyone else just followed. And I will link it, and you can, look up a lot of archives, Operation Encore, Pimp Bomb, all that stuff. It's on there. It's great archive.
You can download it. It's 20 pages. It's the testimony of the lead investigator for the defense organization in the military commission. And in it, he has spent 5 years interviewing FBI agents, half a dozen of them, 9/11 commission investigators, a whole bunch of them. And their testimony is absolutely damning. It not only shows the Saudi involvement in the payment and aiding of 2 of the hijackers, al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar, but scooting this thing all along and hiding it from the FBI. The Alex Station secret center that the CIA put together with FBI agents had tracked the travels of al-Hazmi and al-Midar to Kuala Lumpur to a secret meeting, which was videotaped. And then that was 18 months before 9/11. And then within weeks after that meeting, that was an Al-Qaeda meeting, they were allowed into the US. So the CIA knew they were at this meeting. They were allowed into the US anyway. And they were then aided in finding an apartment by al-Bayoumi, a Saudi intelligence official. So the details of this are absolutely stunning, because the FBI is going, we got to get this, because these guys are now in the US. We've got to get this to the FBI. And the CIA stopped them. And they stopped them for almost 18 months until the last minute in August, when the CIA finally said to the FBI, oh, we lost them. You've got to find them. So what did they do? They set up the FBI as the scapegoat of intelligence failures when they all along were facilitating this. You see, we know.
Up until this point, this is probably the best I ever heard Richard Gage. Everything he said here was exactly right. Everything, not a tittle, was wrong. And I can't believe I'm saying that, because I'm a heavy critic of Richard Gage, because he interviews like nefarious people who don't believe that hijacked planes crashed in Pentagon Shanksville. But miracles do happen, right? Great on Richard Gage here. So far, this is the best I ever heard him. This is fantastic. So I'm proud almost. I'm like a happy father. Let's continue.
That this is an inside operation by the fact that all three of these buildings, building 7 and building 1 and 2, came down in a controlled demolition. This is evidence that we've been putting out for 18 years now, that you alluded to earlier. So since we have the irrefutable, overwhelming evidence of the explosive demolition of all 3 of these towers on our website, richardgage911.org, the CIA cannot spin this as oh my God, we weren't trying to facilitate this. We were trying to track them. No, the whole darn thing, Stu, is an inside operation, and it is plain to see this is just icing on the cake that's been given to us by RT, the author Levshitz, and with this damning testimony from Canestraro, the 5-year investigator at Guantanamo.
Let me add some thoughts to this. All right, so I may be interpreting this wrong from Richard Gage, but I think he's assuming that the CIA knew about the Nawaf al-Hazmi, Khalid al-Mihdhar, and what they were going to do. This would be a bad move, because we don't know. All right, we really don't. And unless we hear those phone calls that were made in the Yebben hub, that were made on bin Laden's satellite phone, and unless we have some type of documentation that shows that the agency knew that the planning of the planes operation was going to happen in, say, the year 2000, well, we can't make that leap. I mean, it's not irrational to say that the CIA and NSA knew somehow that something was going to happen. We're talking about specifics here, right? But we don't have that. Now, I usually say that, the irrational theories like drones and just CIA, hologram and nuclear bombs in the basement, right? But then there are rational theories like extra additional hijackings that were going to take place, because we know about the 5th plane because TMZ covered it, and something that we speculated for years, and it's finally now known that there were more hijackings. That the Israeli Mossad may have had an inside mole inside Al-Qaeda with Ziad Jarrah, because his family has intelligence links to the Mossad and Libyan and German intelligence that goes back to the 1980s, right? So it's not, it wouldn't, it's a stretch to say that Ziad Jarrah was an Israeli mole. We don't know that, but it's not irrational to say that because we do have circumstantial evidence to show that his family was involved with Israeli intelligence. The demolitions of the World Trade Center, I don't think that's irrational to think that, because we have a lot of people in the scientific community, people that I think that are reputable, that, and I wish I knew more, but that's why I don't speak on it, because I'm ignorant regarding this area, that we do have people that say, no, we have evidence to show that, that it couldn't have come down from a natural collapse. Those are rational speculations. It's where my critique of Richard comes from, his staunch position that they don't need hijackers for 9/11, even though that you have phone calls made on these planes saying that the planes were hijacked. Even if you want to say that these weren't the hijackers at the airport, that's supposed to be the 19 hijackers, let's just say that none of them got out of plane. Well, somebody hijacked the planes, right? Because we have evidence to show that through the phone calls that the planes were hijacked and that these planes crashed into the World Trade Center, Pentagon, Shanksville. They were the planes that took off for those airports. We have the technical evidence, the radar, satellite information. We have ATC recording information. We have that audio in Flight 93. They're fighting the hijackers in the cockpit. Right? So we have, and also the plane debris found in New York, Pentagon, and Washington, in Pennsylvania. Plus, we have airline employees that saw the hijackers at these airports and took their boarding passes. So this is my own. I think my only real critique of Gage is the Pentagon, Shanksville, and the no hijackers, or that he thinks that are patsies or just don't exist or whatever. And in this Canestraro file, this is our chance to hold the CIA feet to the fire, because I've always said that if we can get to the Saudis, we can get to the Israelis. So Sean Russell, a co-researcher, in a recent interview we did with Kyle Matovic, brought up something profound. I never thought about it. And he says, well, where's the Canestraro file for the Israelis? I said, wow, that's a really good point. Maybe in the future we'll have one, right? But if we could get to one foreign intelligence agency and we can prove that they were involved with the hijackers at one point, well, do you think they want to go down alone? No, they'll give everybody up. Just like, in a drug bust in a cop's room and you pressure him too much, he's not going to do 20 years alone. He's giving up to make a deal. And I think that's what could happen. But we need reputable people to talk about this. And, listen, I'm a critic of Richard Gage, right? But I'm also not somebody who's ignorant regarding that. Here he is talking about this incredible revelation. It is beyond incredible. It's the biggest revelation I've ever seen with 9/11, right? Now we have documentation from officials showing that the CIA was involved with an illegal operation involving the Saudis. Okay? This is huge. Connection to 9/11, connection to the USS Cole bomb, right? Huge, huge. And Gage deserves some credit, even though I wouldn't go on this show. I went nowhere near it. I want to go on the most reputable shows possible, because that's who we need. Now, going on shows that you don't agree with and stuff, you try to win people over, I can understand that. Sure can. But to build your reputation, you got to go to the reasonable, reputable sources, and not on these, fringe, these shows that produce and promote extremist ideology and belief. It's like going on, the Young Turks or something. I would never go near these shows, even if I was invited and I want a bigger audience. I would rather have my reputation intact, because what's going to happen is, why I'm making a big deal of this, is that you're going to have people from the left basically saying, oh, he's on these right-wing shows. Well, I'm not going to listen to what Gage has to say, even though what Gage has to say here is really important. They're just going to dismiss him because that's the way arguments are made these days. They'll just, before even listening to your points, they just, oh, you went on that show? I don't agree with that show. I'm not going to listen to you. In the future, this is going to be a bigger problem. And we're not going to have a conversation. We're going to have war.
So your detractors are going to say, well, this is just Russian disinformation. To them, you say what?
This is an official court document from the Guantanamo Military Commission.
Just so happens that RT is the only outlet that has the integrity and the testicular fortitude to actually broadcast it.
Wrong. Florida Bulldog broke the story. So Gray Zone covered the story. Big ups on Max Blumenthal, Aaron Mate. Not so much the legacy media. And I wonder why, right? The CIA is involved. Saudis, their interest. The White House's interest, right? So, no, yeah, Stu Peters he may not even know. I mean, I'll give him a leeway here. Or Richard Gage. He may not even know either. So I'm not going to hold their feet to the fire. But Florida Bulldog broke the story. They're the best in the country.
Well, in the meantime, the BlackRock funded, Vanguard funded, Pfizer funded, Fox is going to completely ignore this. What is the motivation of the press to continue to cover this?
You mean, why are they censoring it? Is that your question?
Yep.
Because that's exactly what they are doing and will continue to do. And if it gets so bad that the FBI, the CIA has to respond, they're going to spin it. And it will.
Well, we intend to make it really bad. But here's the thing.
Well, this is now, look, like I said before, this is the problem. As long as we have people that promote extremist beliefs and conspiracies, irrational sometimes, no one's going to take you seriously. Even if you're talking about something as big and relevant as this, right? No one's going to take you seriously. Oh, I'm not going to listen to stupidity, this and that, right? So this is the problem. You want to involve everybody, left, right, center, apolitical, right? You want to get everybody's attention on you. So what do? You go on CNN, you go on Fox, right? Well, that depends on your stature within the movement and also what avenue or what platform you want to proclaim this information on. If you're just going on shows like Stu Peters and Christian, right-wing shows, well, it's no better than going on like, The View or someone like I don't like the Young Turks, like I said before, even though they're not Democrats, I don't think Young Turks. I don't know what to make of them anymore. But yeah, I would not want to be anywhere near that. So in other words, I would like to go to Aaron Mate, for example. That's a great source, or Max Blumenthal. That's another great source. There's other sources. It's really hard. Like Abby Martin would be another one, right? That's Media Roots Radio, or I'm sorry, Abby Martin's show. My God, I should be hung for not remembering it. I'm getting old. What do you want from me? My memory is shot. But yeah, I would go to them. They have a great reputation, and try to build on there. Stu, I probably would agree with you here. The legacy media is not going to touch us. Why? It's involving the CIA, involving our interest in our ally, Saudi Arabia, and it's a huge black eye for the CIA. This is I wish we had a Frank Church committee, because this would really bury them right here. And it's something that, few people like Paul Thompson, Kevin Fenton, Ray Nowosilski, and John Gold, and myself, and DJ Thermal Detonator, and others, new guys like Sean Russell, Darren Harvey, and Podcast New American Century. These are the guys that are trying to blare the horn. Hey, the CIA, 9/11 hijackers, and now Israelis. We have a lot of intelligence services involved with pre-intelligence, because that's what we're talking about today, and may have had information that could have stopped this thing. And now it's official, right?
They can spin it and they can say that. They can say that they were trying to infiltrate, but they knew when they were here. So the CIA did, in fact, conduct operations on American soil because they knew when they were here. They were surveilling these people when they were here in the United States.
Let me stop you right there, Stu. So what all right, let's make sense of this. How did they know? Well, the NSA, like I said, who was monitoring a house in Yemen, which was an Al-Qaeda communications hub, where Khalid al-Mihdhar lived, heard a phone call in December of '99 between someone named Khalid, who's actually Tawfiq bin Attash, who's currently in Guantanamo Bay, being charged for being one of the planners of the Cole bombing and the 9/11 attacks. Remember that name. And the other person on the other line is Khalid. That's Khalid al-Mihdhar. He's married to the daughter of the owner of the house. Okay, that makes the guy who owns the house is Ahmed al-Hada. That makes Khalid al-Mihdhar his son-in-law. So Khalid and Khalid were talking on the phone, and the NSA heard that Khalid was telling Khalid that there's going to be a meeting of other brothers, meaning other brothers within Al-Qaeda and their associates in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. This would later turn out to be the Al-Qaeda summit meeting in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And they heard that Khalid told Khalid to bring the Wapa Hazmi and the Wapa Hazmi brother Salim. So this is the first time that we know on the record that the NSA heard the names of Khalid, Nawaf, and Salim. Later on, the NSA heard their full names. And they were the first agency that we know of, okay? I don't know what the Saudis and Israelis knew because we all deported them. But at least we know that the NSA heard their names and they kept this from the FBI and in turn, the State Department. The NSA did tell the CIA and FBI about the meeting, however, because the NSA doesn't do human intelligence. They don't go and monitor people on a street level, taking pictures and whatnot. What they were hoping was that the CIA took pictures of the people attending the meeting and sending them back to the NSA, but the CIA never shared that information with anybody. And this is another big issue that was covered in the Operation Encore Files and other investigators like Peter Lance, Lawrence Wright, Paul Thompson, Kevin Fenton, and Ray Lewis, right? So what happened was that they went to the meeting. CIA told their station in Malaysia, Malaysian authorities, to take pictures of the people in that meeting. Malaysian authorities did, and Gage was right here. A lot of credit for Richard Gage. It's alleged that they took video. It's alleged. We don't know this for sure, but according to Paul Thompson, he thinks they did. So anyway, at least we know they took pictures. That was sent to the Counterterrorism Center at CIA and to the analysts at the Bin Laden Issue Station. One of the and also too, when Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi left the meeting on January 8th, they went to Bangkok with Khalid, but Khalid was using an alias. And according to Khalid al-Mihdhar, he thought they were being followed. They couldn't be sure. So they rented a hotel for the night. And it's alleged, there's one story, that the CIA went into their room when they were away and took pictures of their passports. But what they found out was they also had dual U.S. visas. And they got them from the U.S. consulate in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And so what happened was this information went to the analysts at the Bin Laden Issue Station, Cody Malik Station, and to the Counterterrorism Center. It's two different places now, okay? CIA knew they were coming to the United States. And so one of the FBI agents, Doug Miller, read the cable and said, oh my God, they knew who Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi was because they were known Al-Qaeda operatives that go back to the early 90s because they fought in the Chechen War. And they were somehow involved with the embassy bombings, and they were alleged to, they were known to be Al-Qaeda. So he's drafting the cable. But it's CIA information. He has to get permission, and it's denied. And that comes from the deputy director of Alex Station, Tom Wilshire. FBI complains, no, you can't send it. Even though they're coming into the United States, which is not the CIA's jurisdiction. According to the CIA, they said the next attack is in Southeast Asia. But Mark Rossini, an FBI agent on loan to the Alex Station, argues with an analyst named Michelle Casey and says, they're coming to the United States. These are bad guys. And she says, we'll let the FBI know when we want them to know. And they kept this information for 16 months until August of 2001, when the news station chief, Richard Blee, who replaced Michael Scheuer, went with George Tenet, and they briefed the leading principals of the Department of Defense and the intelligence service about Khalid al-Mihdhar becoming to the United States. But they still held information from them and said that they didn't tell them that they had U.S. visas. That's how the intelligence services knew in general. I hope I didn't lose you.
Isn't that right? I mean,
Yeah,
how
it
am I
is
losing
right, and
track
that's
of
the
this?
least of their crimes.
Yeah, well, lay it out for us. What are the real serious crimes here?
Well, J. Michael Springman, who ran the visa department in the Department of State at the consulate office in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, was constantly refusing to allow these Saudis into the U.S. for visas, and he was constantly being overridden by the CIA. And this was back in the very late 90s. He knew.
Late 80s. This is during the Afghan-Soviet War, actually. But yeah, that's true. In fact, there's a good book by J. Michael Springman, Visas for Al-Qaeda. And I haven't read the book, and I have it on PDF. I should read it, actually, because Springman is a good source.
88, 80, 89, 90.
He
knew that the CIA
right.
was allowing people who were suspected of terrorist links
That's right.
into the United States for training and sent to Afghanistan for fighting the Soviets.
God, this is the best I've heard Richard Gage. This is all money right here. This is all money. I got a big smile on my face. I hardly ever smile. I should smile more. I'm just a depressing soul. That's all. It's a depressing subject. But yes, Gage. Oh my God, I can't believe it.
At that era as well. So this is a pattern that the CIA has had and apparently continued in the preparations for 9/11.
Would Bush 43 have known about?
Holy cow. Hey, listen, man, this is Richard Gage. Where was all this all these years? Oh my Jesus Christ. Holy mackerel. I mean, wow. Right? Wow, man. Yes. All this that's right. This is all documented history, by the way. Yeah, I'm phoning over. So let's just
About this.
I don't know if they kept him in the dark or not. I think I would if I were Cheney. Keep that.
I agree.
That mind in the dark.
Yeah. So who has operational control at this time over the CIA? Who knew about this?
Good question. Let's find out, Stu. You're the investigative journalist. I'm an architect. I can prove that these buildings were brought down by explosive controlled demolition.
First of all, yeah, Gage knows his limitations. That's like me talking about the World Trade Center. I know my limitations, right? So, yeah, I mean, first of all, the CIA didn't tell the State Department. Okay, so that's their overlords, right? The CIA didn't tell the FBI. The CIA didn't tell local or federal authorities. This was actually a secret covert operation involving just the CIA and the Saudis up to this point. Now, the one agency that seems to always skirt is the NSA, and they had more information than the CIA and the Saudis at this point. The only thing they didn't have was human intelligence. And who was doing the human intelligence inside the United States? The Israelis and the Saudis. Now, if they went to this great lengths to protect the Saudis, what do you think they're going to do with the Israelis? Now, I took care to mention in the Kyle interview that the Israelis, the only reason why we don't have a lot of information on the Israelis, besides the Gerald Shea memo or the redacted FBI memo, is because just maybe the Israelis were running their own operation without the knowledge of the CIA, without the knowledge of the Saudis, without the knowledge of the NSA, without the knowledge of the State Department. And how would they know that the Hamburg cell, the pilot hijackers, or that Khalid al-Mihdhar, the Waffle Hazmi were out west? How would they know? Unless my speculative theory is right, is that the Israelis already had a mole, and his name was Ziad Jarrah. Don't quote me. I'm saying this is just speculation. Okay? All right? Because of Ziad Jarrah's family with Israeli intelligence. Not too far-fetched, right? Not too far-fetched. But we need more people on board. Now, look, this connection, this don't work. If we don't have hijackers, and we don't have hijacked planes, all this information that Gage was talking about, that I'm talking about, doesn't exist. Because we don't have the intelligence services monitoring these hijackers years prior and all the way up to September 11th. We lose that connection. Maybe this is the reason why, for a long time, and I'm speculating here again, that maybe the manufactured theories came from people who wanted to destroy the truth movement in the hopes of not realizing that connection to the CIA, Israel, and Saudi Arabia. No hijackers, no hijacked planes. That's why it's huge. This document is huge. And Gage talking about here in rational cognitive discussion. I give Gage a lot of credit here. This is the most credit I've ever given Rich Gage, ever.
With high energy explosives and thermite, the evidence given to us by the
right. Now let me expound on this theory. Now, let's just say the bombs were placed in the World Trade Center or thermite. That would prove, that would mean that the intelligence services knew that these planes were going to hit the World Trade Center, but it wouldn't be enough to bring down the towers. So why not we use this and coincide with the hijacked planes? So when the planes hit the towers, bombs go off or something, who's really going to hear it? I mean, everyone's running out of the building, right? And the very few that may have survived, maybe they heard the floors collapse. You know, you don't know, right? We don't know. But that's a great mask. Weakens the building, ensures the building comes down. So reasonable speculation here. Now to them, it's, you know, it's a fact. I don't want to argue against it. I happen to believe that, you know, there were bombs. You know, Rick Sanchez of MSNBC News basically said he met a cop in the street. This is September 11th, before the towers even came down. He said, I met with a cop who basically said they found a van packed with explosives in the basement. Sounds familiar? 1993, anyone? Maybe, right? So would that fit with the, you know, the van that was found on East Rutherford with the Israelis in them, that it was tested, there was a blanket that was tested with residue, whatever that was, bomb residue, whatever that was. Would that fit with the bombs in the World Trade Center were found in the white truck? Could be speculation. We don't know, but not irrational. So how would they know that unless the intelligence services knew, heard about it on the phones that they're tapped, knew about the operation and manipulated it? Right? So, all right, let's continue.
The FEMA report early on shows hot sulfur corrosion attack on the steel, liquid molten iron invading the grain boundaries of the steel in the World Trade Center 1 and 2 and 7. So,
you know, I gotta admit something. It's, you know, it's not a strong suit for me. So this is one area I really wish I could have studied more. I'm strictly geopolitics. I'm strictly the study of radical fundamentalism, the intelligence services involvement with radical fundamentalism that goes back decades. The essence of radical fundamentalism, how it doesn't coincide with Sunni theology, the Israeli-U.S. foreign policy, what aligns them both. So, Middle East affairs and culture and all this, right? It took me years to study this stuff. It really did. It's such an expansive topic, and I went overboard. And I really, really, I would a little bit regret that, because this is part of 9/11, how the towers came down, whether it's from explosives. And I'm terrible with physics. I always have been. And, I really wish I could have, studied this area more, but I know my limitations, right? So I'd rather defer to the experts like David Chandler or Tony Zambati, for example, and others like with the thermite theory, like with Niels Harrit, for example, or Stephen Jones. I would rather Dwayne Costi, Ken Jenkins and Dwayne Dietz, or what's his name? John Wyndham, and I always forget the other guy's name. I can't remember his name, but there are others, really reputable people and not crackpots at all. These guys are solid individuals who know what they're talking about. And I have yet to see anybody try and take them on in a debate. So there's got to be some validity to it. I mean, architects and engineers, they have 3,000. Are they all wrong? Like, are they just all flat out wrong? It could be they're wrong. What if they're right? Right? I would love to see a moderated debate. I mean, there was a debate years ago, actually. It was Tony Zambati and Mick West. And I'm telling you with my own, my opinion, nothing more, that it looked like Zambati won. But I'm not sure, right? I don't know. And Mick West, I think, admits to even saying that he's not, an engineer and whatnot. And, Zambati is, thank God. So, I'd love to see a debate on a reasonable platform, not politically infused with the left or right. A really big debate with someone like a David Chandler and somebody from, say, Popular Mechanics, or somebody from the New York City Engineering Department or something, or someone from the World Trade Center, engineer. And we could probably put this to rest. I always thought about moderating that platform. I know Chandler is up for it because he basically told me this once. And he's a great representative, even though he was demonized by the fanatics. Right? I'm not going to mention any names. Anyway, I would love to see a big moderated, really big, like a lot of people to attend and just put this debate to rest. Have like a conference, but on a real moderated, well-respected platform where basically the people who are pro, official narrative stuff, whatever that is, right, can basically say, you know what, they got a point. Instead of saying, oh, you're on a, right-wing platform, we're not going to listen to you. Maybe that's an idea that maybe like Gene or Sandra, or maybe even Alfred, one of those people from the war room, they can probably get in touch, but it would have to be a moderated platform. It couldn't be politically, aligned with anybody. It has to be a really respected platform across the board. And get somebody like don't get, irreputable people. Chandler, one of those guys, and then somebody who's a real engineer, a real architect that basically doesn't agree with the thermite or bomb, explosive detonation theory or statement, right?
This evidence that we've gone over in previous versions, episodes with you, is absolutely damning. And together with the icing on the cake right here will put the CIA away for a long time, along with those who back them. You asked who they are. Well, who's censoring this incredible information? Well, 95% of the mainstream media is owned by just 5 corporations. Who owns those? The same people who run the corporations in the arms industry, the oil industry, the banking industry, the insurance industry, all of whom profited enormously from 9/11. This is a huge problem for all of us. And
Yeah.
of course, what was their goal? We have the Patriot Act, the Military Commissions Act, the National Defense Authorization Act of 2012, and any of us today can be arrested for without a right to a.
Isn't that strange? Did anybody catch that? Let's go back there. See their responses to this.
The insurance industry, all of whom profited enormously from 9/11.
I never
This
saw
is
this.
a huge problem for all.
What are they laughing about? What could they possibly be smiling about at this point? This is almost like the dancing is like the high fivers, right? They're celebrating. I think this is the view of the college students. I have this video, but I don't have this much. I don't think. I have thousands of videos on my hard drive, but this, I don't think I've ever seen this. Look at them. They're happy. But then she shows shock because she sees the tower collapsing. Look, watch.
All of us. And
Yeah.
of course, what was their goal? We have the Patriot Act, the Military Commissions
She's
Act, the
real
National
fast.
Defense Authorization Act of 2012, and any of us today can be arrested for without a right to a lawyer, a trial, a jury. We can be tortured. We can even be assassinated. So we have huge problems in this country that remain for the last 20 years since the Patriot Act.
When
I gotta say, man, I am so proud of Richard Gage. I can't believe I'm saying this. And on this platform of all platform, my God, he's on the money. And he's not stuttering or nothing. He's on the money here. You know, people are gonna say this video and they're gonna think we're married. This is good, but this is easily Richard Gage's best video he's ever done. I mean, putting aside the World Trade Center stuff, geopolitically, this is the best video he's ever done. Unbelievable. This is the first time I'm seeing this, too. So, wow.
I say that we are living under a corporate government crime syndicate, a murderous regime, when I say that our government is the most corrupt government on the face of the planet, and when I say that our government has openly declared war on the American people, I'm not only just talking about the Pfizer bioweapon clot shot, I'm also talking about dating all the way back to 9/11 and even before. It has always been the intention of the globalist elite to kill you and to take your kids and to target them for mutilation and pedophilia and sex trafficking. It has always been their intent to keep you under their thumb. It has always been the intent to rob every single dollar that you've ever worked hard to earn or even harder to save. It has always been their intent to keep you fat and obese and lazy and on the couch. It has always been their intent to slaughter you. You are a useless eater, and our government is the perpetuator of all of the evil that we've seen on this planet. If anybody believes that 9/11 was just performed by some rogue Muslim extremist terrorists coming from, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia and Afghanistan, you're dead wrong.
Well, I hate the terms, and really, it just reminds me of Alex Jones. Globalist elite, New World Order, Illuminati. Vague, useless terms. Be specific. Who are the globalist elite? Who are the Illuminati? Who are the New World Order? It's easy to say this because it's almost like a generalizing defamation of the entire federal government. Are you saying everybody in the federal government's wanting to kill us? Even though I wouldn't necessarily disagree because I think we need a new entire system. But what Stu Peters wants is just like what Marco Rubio wants or Tom Cotton. And they want an evangelical, right, nationalist Christian nation. That's what they want. That's why I want nothing to do with Stu Peters and those people. These are China hawks, Iran hawks, white Christian national evangelical across the board. Yeah, we'll allow the minorities to live with us, right? That's what I don't support none of that nonsense. Ideology is what kills us, right? I want a productive society that benefits everybody, foreign and domestic, the entire world, right? I don't disagree with his notion that, the government is evil. Yeah, it is. But also, if you're just going to say that 9/11 was just carried out by, it wasn't just carried out by fanatics, that somehow the CIA is involved, well, you have to prove that. Now, this file basically gets us close to basically holding the CIA criminally legible. Now, you got to worry about statute of limitations here. What is the CIA guilty of? What crime? Well, they withheld information about 2 hijackers inside the United States. That's it. We don't know about the specifics. We don't know whether they were directly involved with saying, oh, we knew that 9/11 was going to happen and we didn't stop these hijackers. That's what's missing. Now, is it reasonable to say that they might have had that information? Yes, but we don't have proof. I'm all about straight evidence. The hell with conjecture, innuendo, and speculation. It's fine when you want to build an argument, which hopefully could lead to future evidence. But you have to make it, you can't put one puzzle piece in the wrong slot and say, oh, there's the picture. You can't. This is what the truth movement got wrong all these years. But maybe, just maybe, Richard Gage could be turning over a leaf here. This could be a one-hit wonder. Well, I know. But he needs to really do the next step. And that is to disassociate from the people that promote false theories. If he ever wants to have a reasonable voice in the future. I don't know if Richard Gage is ever going to see this. But if he is, yeah, I'm a heavy critic of you because of what you said about the hijackers in the past, or about hijacked planes, or what happened at Pentagon in Shanksville. But I'm also willing to give you credit, which is what I did here in this video, because everything you said here is right. Now, the next step is to basically clean the reputation. Get rid of these people that had been whispering in your ear these years about no planes or switch drones and stuff like all this that's not supported by any evidence whatsoever. What you read here today was probably the biggest revelation in 9/11 that I've ever come across. And basically, that's supported by evidence that shows a wider conspiracy involving our domestic surveillance agency, the CIA, involved with an illegal operation with the Saudis on withholding information about known Al-Qaeda operatives inside the United States who just so happen to be involved with 9/11. The next step we're hoping for is that they knew about the 9/11 attacks in the future. How do we get that? Through the NSA. We can't get to the Israelis. They're gone. You think they're coming back to talk about it? No, they're not. And that's speculating whether they had that information. I think they did. Okay? But if there's anybody out there, and this is my idea is this: to file a FOIA request regarding the NSA's wiretap of 2 lines, bin Laden's satellite phones in the early 90s, all the way from 92 to 98, and the Al-Qaeda communications hub from 1996 to 2002. That's 5 years prior to 9/11. What do you think Al-Qaeda was talking about in those phones? They're not like everyday Americans. These are serious people who hate the United States, who hate Israel. Not talking about the Yankees or Rice-A-Roni. They're talking about operations. Now, the former senior executive of the NSA, Thomas Drake, the biggest whistleblower of my lifetime, basically remarked that the NSA was the gold mine of all information regarding 9/11 because they had all the information about all the hijackers. And how would they know that? Through the phone lines. But their escape is that they didn't read all that information because it was so much metadata. Imagine 5 years of phone calls, 5 years. And when Thomas Drake got that information consolidated in CD-ROMs, he went to the Signals Intelligence Director, Maureen Baginski, and said, here it is. And Baginski's response Tom, I wish you hadn't shown me this. Why would she say that? Because the NSA can no longer claim plausible deniability. They had the information. The next step is whether the information was known to the NSA prior to 9/11, whether they knew about specifics. That's the next step, specifics. We can have names now. Tenet lied under oath. Coverup Black, director of the CTC, lied under oath. Tom Wilshire, who ordered the withholding of information from the FBI regarding Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf Osby, he lied under oath. This is all the stuff the truth movement should be talking about. Because if you want specifics, here it is. Through the Canestraro files, through Operation Encore, through the testimony of the CIA at the Joint House Inquiry and the 9/11 Commission, but mainly the Joint House, you have lying, obfuscation, I butchered that word. Thank you, New York accent. And also a withholding of evidence regarding Khalid al-Mihdhar, Nawaf Osby, and their link to Khalid, the mastermind of the Cole attack, because that's what the FBI was investigating. So in other words, the CIA interfered with a federal investigation of a crime that took place against a U.S. naval warship. Big deal here. Big conspiracy. Huge. Bigger than what you or Rod. Without hijackers and hijacked planes, all of this is gone. There's no connection. That's why I made it a big deal over the years. Huge deal. Like, God, what are you doing? But maybe with this here, on this platform of all people, maybe Gage can finally get over that hump. And yeah, it's going to cost him. A lot of people will call him a shill. They'll say he's in on it. He's obfuscated. He's now working for the government because he believes in hijacked planes. But it's the opposite. And in time, what will happen to him is what will happen to Paul Thompson, to John Gold, to Kevin Fenton, and they'll become ignored, shunned. Media will ignore him, and nobody will accept him because the truth movement, few people that aren't infused with fringe theories, they'll stick with them, but very few will. But you know what you know what he has on his side? And he could rest and sleep easy? The truth. And this is the end of the video right here. But let me tell you something. I'm proud of Richard Gage here. I'm saying it. I'm posting this video on YouTube and Odyssey. Proud of Richard Gage here. This was a big step. And what he may not even realize it right now, but the Canestraro file is just it is the crack that we needed. The foot in the door that the truth movement desperately needed. Now, you could say what you want about the World Trade Center. The only thing missing there was a name, specifics. Not here, because we have names. We could hold Tom Wilshire, Coverup Black, George Tenet, James Pavitt, Director of Operations, CIA, Michelle Ann Casey, Alfred Ambical. All these are analysts, right, from Alex Station. And when you add the NSA and you add Saudi officials helping these two guys, known Al-Qaeda operatives, this is tremendous news. This Canestraro file is so enormous. And for Richard Gage to give it the respect it did, and I remember he went on a show, I forgot the name of that other guy. It was okay, but this one, he spoke without endorsing the fringe theories. And it is so, God, I'm proud of him to do it. I'd like to see more. And let's see what happens in the future. And not telling you to ignore the World Trade Center. You've been covering that longer than I've been interested in 9/11. I started in 2006. I don't know. I forgot you started. I think Gage, you started around that same time or something. But you know, you've been strictly World Trade Center. But I know that you're new to the geopolitics, and when you started researching geopolitics, I think you listened to the wrong people. I'm not going to name them. So I don't want this to be, an insult or a critique video. And I hope if you are consistent here from this point forward, I am more than willing to work with you and help you along. And I know others will too. So, yes, I've been a huge critic in the past because I hate the false theories attributed to 9/11, just in the way that you hate the false theories attributed to the World Trade Center. Maybe we share something like that in common. But I'm all about the unbiased truth. Maybe you are too. And maybe I was wrong about you. That, you should have known better and whatnot. That maybe, just maybe with the geopolitics in mind, that you just listened to the wrong people. But now the next step is to get rid of those influences. All right, guys, listen, that was the end of the night. I'll put the Florida Bulldog article in the description. Have a good night, everybody. See you in the next video.